What's up, TRB fans? Before we get started on today's episode, I want to talk to you about Star Wars Card Trader by Topps digital collectibles app. Collect and trade digital collectibles, including exclusive Mandalorian episodic content. Download the app and relive every moment from the new Disney Plus series, as well as the entire Star Wars saga, including the upcoming Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. On your quest to collect your favorite heroes, villains, weapons, spacecraft, and more. Star Wars Card Trader will be launching this week and with a fresh, brand new design, which will include a new user experience, new features like Workbench, which is a collectible trade-in function, revamped trading flow, and much more. Users can also expect brand new sets, including an upcoming Kylo Ren-inspired set, aptly titled, I'll Show You the Dark Side. Download Star Wars Card Trader for free in the iTunes App Store or Google Play Store.
Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast, everybody. I'm John. How are you today? The base is open. Thank you so much for joining us. James and Lacey, as always, are with me, but we are also joined by a special guest from across the pond. He is from Theatrical, also known from Star Wars Insider, StarWars.com, Star Wars Celebration, anything with Star Wars in it, I think. It is Marc Newbold. Marc, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Good morning, because I'm in the future, so it's not where I'm not where you are. I'm somewhere else. But yes. Hello, everyone.
Right.
Yay.
How is the future in your world?
Warming up because I've just put the heating on. But as I just said earlier, I've got a cup of tea, so I'm happy. So cheers. Very good.
Perfect.
Very good.
Nice.
All right. So guys, everyone, Marc, are you getting into Disney Plus? What's the deal over there? I don't know if you can reveal too much about your approach to it, but
That's a sort of way of putting it. No, we haven't got Disney Plus yet.
Yes.
Our friends in Holland do. They're the nearest to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we get it 31st of March, according to one called Bob Iger. So,
Right.
so we're watching with envious eyes from many miles away.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it looks fantastic. It looks really good.
Yeah, it does. James and Lacey, you guys are loving Disney Plus in general. We talked off air. I mean, I know you do, but you guys are digging it so far, I assume.
Yeah, for me, I knew, like, as soon as I watched Mandalorian, like, 17 times, just kidding, like 3, maybe. I went to, we had to record the podcast and do the Mando fan show and all that other stuff. But I think right as soon as I had a free moment, I think me and my wife and my son all watched Lady and the Tramp, which was the dog movie. Bennett really wanted to watch the dog movie.
How was the spaghetti scene, the famous
You know what's
scene?
actually funny is I went into the movie thinking it was going to be like, I'm not going to remember any of this just getting there. And then there was actually a lot of stuff that I was like, oh yeah, this is like yeah, I remember this. Like I totally forgot about the Siamese cats.
Oh, they're the
I totally
worst.
forgot about when they're in the pound and she's like, he's a tramp, but we love him. I'm like, oh, I remember this. Like I just totally forgot all this except for the spaghetti scene. So
Yeah, there you go. Lacey, what are you getting into on Disney Plus besides The Mandalorian, of course?
I've only watched The Mandalorian like 3 or 4 times, and then I watched The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Oh wow, you didn't go for the Haley Mills classic. You went for the Lindsay Lohan one.
The Lindsay Lohan one is the classic. Yeah. Also, I realized, so I don't know if you guys ever have this where you watch something from your childhood and you realize that's where you got something from. Like you're like, oh, I got that phrase. She says mind-boggling in it as the British one. She's like, mind-boggling. And I was like, that's where I got that from. That's why I say that all the time.
Oh. Wait, Lacey, are you telling me you don't know that there's a Parent Trap from like the 60s?
No, I do. I just don't care.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Because it's not Lindsay Lohan.
All right.
Get out.
All right. Get out. Okay.
Marc, what do you think will be your first watch on Disney Plus? Maybe, I mean, I would assume maybe you catch up on Mandalorian and whatnot, but
I mean, obviously I'm going to swing towards the Star Wars stuff just to be nosy, but I think it's probably going to be something a bit left of centre, probably Gargoyles or something like that, because I remember seeing that years ago, and everyone's talking about Gargoyles. I'm a Star Trek fan as well, so Frakes and Dawn and Surtees were in it, so I'll probably pick that as my first it'll run to. Then, of course, the original 1960s version of The Parent Trap, which is the best by far. So,
Right.
I was really hoping
Maureen
you were going to
O'Hara.
say, and then Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
no, the
No.
mind boggles. Sorry.
A lot of people.
Mind-boggling.
It's funny, at work, and a lot of people have been bringing up gargoyles. So that's like the hot item that I wouldn't have expected. But I'm hearing it everywhere. So maybe I'll have to dig back into that. But Mark, before we get going, is there anything that you have going on that you want to plug that our listeners or viewers would want to check out? Anything like that going on?
Nothing specifically, other than if you're not already checking out Fan Tracks, give it a go, because
Sure.
we're foot to the floor at the moment with news, and there's plenty of it. So
Right.
we're going full tilt to try and cover as much as we can.
Yep.
So no, other than just head to Fan Tracks, or if you're in the area. The south of England on the 30th of November, 1st of December, always come down to Farthest From in Fordingbridge. We have an event down there, a vintage event on the Sunday, and then a family fun day on the Saturday, which we have called Fantha Day for about the past 5 runnings of the event. So if you want to get on a Fantha Day for a bit of fun, you can always do that. But apart from that, no, just head to Fantha Tracks and pick up some news there if you can.
And how long has Fantha Tracks been going now?
Just over 2 years. So,
Nice. Congrats, man.
unbelievably already. I can't believe it's 2 years already. We went over, I think last month we went over 10,000 posts on the site already in like less than 2 years. So, yeah.
Great job, man.
Kids off the streets. Thank you.
Yeah, right. All right, well, now it's time to hop into our segment. James is going to run us through. It's called One with the Force. And if you're new to the podcast, there's a reason why we use the term one, and James will hit you up with that right now. James, what's up?
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
Will the Force? One with the Force.
Every week.
All right.
Every week.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while. So will always starts with will. The questions that start with the word will. One with the Force is actually a segment where we are asked a question and we have to pick only one answer. So we've read these through, we've thought about the good ones, and we're going to get started. The first question we got this week is, if you could interview one Star Wars actor that has passed away, sadly, who would it be? Mark, we're starting off with you on this one.
Funny enough, I was thinking about this person earlier on today for a reason that I can't divulge, but the person I would like to, I had the terrible misfortune of having 3 people I'd got interviews lined up with who, before I interviewed them, they passed away. So I don't know whether that's just fate or I'm just a bad luck charm.
Oh my gosh.
But Phil Brown, Uncle Owen, William Hootkins, Porkins, and Michael Sheard, Admiral Oswald. And I would love to have interviewed Michael Sheard because I know people who knew him quite well and said he was an absolute character. So long-winded one-word answer, Michael Sheard.
Wow. So don't ever interview me, Mark.
I'm like super nervous right now. Like, should we stop the show?
Mark, don't ask us any questions.
This is just a conversation. There's no questions coming from
Right,
this side.
this is a conversation. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Grim Reaper? It's just a conversation, okay?
He's like, oh,
Yeah, this just turned into a Final Destination podcast.
Yeah, jeez.
All right, Lacey, you're up next. Who would you interview?
I would interview Carrie Fisher because she was hilarious. Super, super smart. I think she has amazing stories, and she's basically made me who I am today. So Carrie Fisher.
Nice.
Carrie Fisher. That's a good answer. John, what do you got?
I think I'd pick Kenny Baker because I obviously love R2-D2. I feel like he had like a grounded sense of humor in anything that I've seen him in with interviews. I love the fact that he was always a bit annoyed by Anthony Daniels in a sense. But and he was the least interviewed. So I feel like he would have anecdotes that we haven't made the rounds by everyone else. Like you interview Mark Hamill, you probably get a lot of the same beats. But if you interview Kenny Baker, maybe you pull a nugget out from 1980 that you didn't hear before. And he was around for the first 6 movies. So he probably has a chunk of change up there if I had a chance to. So, yeah, I'd pick Kenny Baker.
That's a good pick. Mine would be Alec Guinness, and I was afraid that John was going to take it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think that he just would be really good to like show the new content to and be like, hey, what do you think about this stuff? Even as far as like the new prequels to him, But But I just think he would be fun to get a perspective. We just recently did the best casting decisions, and Alec Guinness was one of them. And I don't know, I just think he would be a good interview as far as getting his perspective on where Star Wars has gone, and him being like the big name of the first movie, right? in a weird way. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's do the next question. We got, if you had a major secret and we're going to tell it to one Star Wars character, trusting that they would never tell anyone, who would you tell your secret to? Lacey, we're starting with you.
I would pick Obi-Wan Kenobi because homeboy sat on a planet for like a long time, keeping everything to himself, and held on to like the lightsaber and the story of Anakin and all those other things just to watch over Luke Skywalker. So I would pick him. I think he'd be the best secret keeper. Although if he ever told it, he'd tell it wrong. He'd probably
lie.
He'd tell it from a certain point of view. So then I'd be okay.
All right, John, who's your secret keeper?
I'm obviously going down a pattern here, but R2-D2. That dude is a vault. So yeah, I think I would have him be the key. I mean, he'd go in low power mode if I needed him to, right? Be like, look, I'm over on this island. Don't tell anybody. Go in low power mode. You're not going to be in the movie much. If that little ball bumps into you, don't do a thing. So yeah, I got to go with the old trusty R2-D2.
But then he would tell, though.
Not if I told him.
Okay.
All right, Mark, who are you picking?
I agree. I'd pick R2 as well if I'm allowed to pick the same. Because I think way back when George said, that the story of Star Wars he imagined was told to R2, and R2, if there's a distant future of Star Wars, the only character that would be left would be R2-D2, because he's the guy that's basically telling you the whole story. So I think I'd be pretty safe. I think there's things that 3PO's forgotten that he even knew that R2 still knows. Mm-hmm. He's the ultimate, backup for everybody. I think R2's got all the secrets because, he's been owned by so many people. And in my head canon, Droids, the animated series, still happened. So between Star Wars and Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars, R2 and 3PO are still out there doing stuff, which is why I don't see why they couldn't have R2 and 3PO in Solo. I think it would have made all the sense for them to be in Solo.
I agree.
That little film that we all like so much, that they should do a sequel to.
Yes.
So I think I would say R2-D2, definitely, yeah.
Actually, I think there might be a canon story with the Wills and R2 involved, so he might be one of those characters we just know is going to survive because of a little book story or something. But my pick would be Rey. I would pick Rey because I think that she had a secret, which was, knowing she's seen the map, and all this other stuff. She's seen the island and all this, and even the Force ability to look into someone's mind and steal the information. She was like, nah, like I'm blocking you out. You can't do that. So she was that bent on keeping the secret. And I think if something's important, she would not tell anybody.
And she forgets things apparently too. So
she forgets things.
She forgot who her parents were. It's like, yeah, they'll be back.
Well.
Someday.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's pretend you are a character in the Star Wars galaxy and you get gifted with something very special. You can pick how you will die in one of these three options.
This is a gift.
Which one would you choose? I think you're gifted in the sense of like you have the choice of which way you're gonna die.
A little tongue in cheek there.
All right, guys. So think about this for a second. The three options you have are being eaten by a Rancor, death via Force lightning, or a Sarlacc pit. But there is no escaping. So I would say no Boba Fetting this situation, but we don't even know if he was able to do it.
We don't know.
Sarlacc pit being slowly digested. So, John, start us off on this one. Which one are you picking?
I think Sarlacc pit, because I just feel like I don't think anything. Well, I don't know that anything necessarily happens to you other than you're in there and you starve to death and then you die. Like you're right. I don't think you
There's
get
probably stomach acid. There's like 8 stomachs or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
They said slowly digested, so I can't imagine you're just chilling.
Maybe I'd
in the lobby of the Sarlacc. Just reading a magazine.
In the lobby of the Sarlacc, yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are like
lobby
3 or 4 stomachs of that thing.
I'm pretty sure none of these options are good, so I'm just going to go with Sarlacc.
All right.
All right, Mark. Which one of the 3 are you dying to live out?
I really want to say I'd like to be force lightninged into the mouth of a Rancor that's on the edge of a Sarlacc. Yes. So, and just go really dramatically, because I think anyone on their own is kind of, I don't know, slowly digest over 1,000 years doesn't sound so appealing. But then, I don't know, being cooked alive by the Emperor or another available Sith. There are other available Sith. That don't sound so much fun either. So I would say being bitten in half by a Rancor, like the Gamorrean Guardian Jedi, just nice and quick and bang. So I'd say yes, eaten by a Rancor. I'd like it to be a bigger Rancor than one in Jedi though, because he could eat me quicker. I'm just thinking speed of death. So
you could actually get eaten by a giant Kowakian monkey lizard, as the Resistance TV show has brought on.
Yeah,
it's like a Rancor monkey lizard or something they have too.
So Mark,
Lacey,
you're saying
how would you like to die?
Yeah.
No, go ahead, John. What?
No, I was gonna say like when I think about being bitten in half, I think of Quint in Jaws, and that didn't look very good either. But all the other options considered, that you might be right.
Yeah, I think Bruce was just being slow on purpose. I think he was just doing it for dramatic purposes, and I think he was the best directed shark ever.
Right.
Whereas I think the Rancor just thought, to hell with this. Phil Tippett said, just bite. So that's all it was. So.
Right on.
Lacey, how you dying?
I'm sensing a theme with this episode, Mark. I am so sorry, and it's like dying. So...
it's all right. I've died on podcasts before. It's all right.
So these were tricky. I would pick Force Lightning because if I'm gonna go out, might as well go out to the hand of like someone really cool when I died, that I could be like, hey, that guy killed me. Because otherwise, the digesting thing is gross, and it makes me think of what's his name? Peter Jackson's King Kong with Andy Serkis, who gets digested by slugs, and that gave me nightmares for like 3 years. So I'm gonna pick Force Lightning.
All right.
Yeah, and Lacey, I'm with you. That's what I would go with too. I think the other two, like, I don't know, something about like, one of my fears is like being in the middle of the ocean and then like a whale like doesn't even realize it's eating you or something. Yeah. That scares the crap out of me.
Haven't you seen Pinocchio?
You'd Pinocchio.
You'd be fine.
Yeah.
So
you'd be in the lobby of the whale.
At the blowhole
of the whale. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that stuff scares the crap out of me. So I picture when you say death by force lightning, I'm like, so I'm fighting some sort of like super evil Darth character. I was like, yeah, that sounds a lot better. Like to go by the hand of a genius evil mastermind or whatever.
I'm going right into the side of the sail barge, right down my jetpack, right down into the thing. Yeah.
All right. Last question we got here. I want you guys to name one fan-servicey cameo you would like to see or would most want to see in The Rise of Skywalker. Mark, let's start off with you. Let's go back to the beginning.
Oh, wow. Wow. Blimey. I would pick Aunt Beru's Force Ghost.
Aunt Beru's Force Ghost.
Wow.
Okay.
With the big vegetable next to the Mulanex about to stick in it, and she'll just like that look from the corner of the screen, like
right,
and fade away into the Force. I'd say Aunt Beru's Force Ghost.
With her,
a lot of thought on it.
With her denim jacket still and her kerchief
and the flowery collar. Yeah, it's got to have all that. Yeah, and
perfect.
The original voice.
Yeah,
the vegetable thing makes the funniest noise. It's like,
yeah.
You actually get her. You get her as the skeleton.
The one figure Hasbro never released that they really should have done.
Yes. Yes. In the pair set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's actually they just go back and they look down and it's still there and you're like, that's a cameo.
Right
there. Yeah. All right. Lacey, who would you want to see as a cameo?
I don't know if this counts because we've talked about it, but I would really like to see Wicket in this movie.
Mm.
And that's somewhat fan-servicey.
Oh,
Yeah,
without
for
a doubt. Yeah.
Can I say my other thing that I wrote down really quick? If Akbar's son says it's a trap at some point in this movie,
Oh,
I would lose it.
I
It's a
mean,
trap.
that's so on the nose. I don't know if JJ wants to throw the meme in his movie, but yeah.
I
He's
love
got to
it.
wink at the camera when he does it, though.
Yeah.
sure. Or he's just like, everything is going as planned. It's the exact opposite.
Everything is
All right.
wonderful.
Yeah. John, what do you got?
Harrison Ford, Han Solo, flashback style.
I like the sound of that.
He has one more shot at it. This is it. He likes money. Do a flashback. De-age him like Kurt Russell in Guardians 2. Dropping off Ben at school. I don't know. Harrison Ford, Han Solo. That's my. That would make me, as James, you keep pointing out JJ's term, very satisfied if I saw that.
For me, I had one and then I just kind of changed it. I'm gonna go with Hera Syndulla. I think that they've done the ghost thing and they've doubled down on the ghost thing. I think they're just one step away. Like, how do you've already put the ghost in the movie. Now we're showing it to you in the trailer, and how can we like improve on that? Well, show me who's flying it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I think that could be really good, and it would be interesting to see her at the age she's at. You know. Now they could do some other thing too with showing her son. Maybe we put that together as well. But I think that like focus around the ghost, like some sort of Rebels cameo within that ghost would be perfect for me. All right, that's it for One with the Force. I'm gonna hand this off to Lacey. We're gonna do a quick Patreon pod race.
Ooh.
All right, guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race. So what this is as you guys know, we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. It's a way for you guys to support us outside the show, from liking things and commenting on things and subscribing. And a part of that, if you're a general, is you get to be a part of the show. So this week we have General Melo from Spain, and we asked him if he was a Mandalorian, what would his armor be, so that when we saw him in the world, we would know it was him. So, Melo, take it away.
Hello, Resistance. You caught us before bedtime in story time because tomorrow somebody has school, so I'm going to make this quick. And he's better qualified to answer this question. So, tell me how your Mandalorian armor will be.
It would be the color would be black, and I'll have a jetpack and blasters.
Okay. What about the Darksaber?
Darksaber. What's that?
That's a story for a different time.
No, for right now.
You'll find out later.
Ow.
Okay, that's all we have. You guys have a wonderful day. We haven't seen it yet, so hopefully we'll find a way to watch it soon. So
Wiggle, wiggle, pop, pop.
that's a different show.
Okay.
People are Resistance.
Awesome. Great job. I mean, it's kind of not you answering because your son answered, but still epic. And by the way, your son is becoming a very close part of TRB at this point.
Huge star.
He was in the reaction video, he was the thumbnail, and now this. But black is a great color. I prefer wearing black, so I'm all for it. John, what do you think?
I mean, Melo Jr. I didn't catch the guy's name, so I'm going to call him Melo Jr. in this round. But he was wearing a Chewbacca zippy, so he could have said anything, and I would have liked it. So the kid has good tastes, as we can see here, right? So great job, Melo. I don't know what my answer would be, but black armor sounds good to me. I'm a heavy metal guy. It works for me. So good job, and thanks as always for your support.
James?
I don't know if anybody watches Marquez Brownlee, but his whole thing is matte black everything. He's like a tech reviewer. But no, yeah, that just sounds awesome to me. Like a full like matte black, like the opposite of that like prototype Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like, total matte black. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I really like that. Plus the jetpack and the blasters. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, Mark, if you were a Mandalorian, what would your armor look like?
I'll be loyal to Fantatrax and say gold.
Ooh.
Like black and gold. Although I do like the black eye, none more black. Stiff the glove. The whole,
Spinal Tap.
Light completely. Light disappears into it. You're like a black hole. You wouldn't even know I was there. I would be the most lethal bounty hunter ever.
What's that Vantha Black or whatever?
What's that?
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, it's a black that's so black that light is pulled into it. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an actual material that they've made that bends light because it's that dark. I think it's called Vantha Black. Somebody's yelling at their.
Looks like Marc's in the
car
radio
right now.
Yeah, Fantha Black.
Fantha
There you go.
Fantha Black. Yeah.
Right.
All right, awesome. If you guys want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. But now we're going to go to John, who's going to take us into our discussion.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Okay, guys, the discussion this week. There's kind of a sad overtone on this episode. Went from death to farewells in a sense, but we are.
It's all I can bring you, John. Sorry.
That's it. That's right. The death and a smile. Thank you so much, Marc. We're going to be saying goodbye to the Star Wars legacy actors. The Skywalker saga is concluding next month with The Rise of Skywalker. And once the blue font pops up, directed by J.J. Abrams, we're likely also saying goodbye to our legacy actors for the last time. So, Marc, you had recently spoke with Anthony Daniels, which kind of sparked this idea in my head for this conversation. So let's kind of talk about saying goodbye to these legacy actors. Some are already gone, unfortunately. But in terms of leaving the franchise with the end of the Skywalker saga, this might be the last time. So I just wanted to have an open discussion of, what that feels like for us as fans, what that may mean for the future of the franchise and that sort of thing. So Marc, let's start with you. You had recently spoken with Anthony Daniels. How are your feelings when you're interviewing someone like that, knowing this might be his final bow and that sort of thing? If you could start us off here.
Well, it was strange because I think he was kind of conscious that it's his last rollout, and I don't know. I'm pretty confident saying I'm the oldest guy in the room at the moment. So I've been watching them all since I was a little kid, and specifically with Anthony, it's the same guy in the suit all the way through, which is a big deal. I think it's quite unique in film, let alone Star Wars. So the thought of him not being in that suit again, I think he's quite happy he's not getting in the suit again. I don't think he'll miss that one little bit. But the thought that he's not going to be on screen again as 3PO is quite sobering, really. And it's starting to come home a little bit that this is the last hurrah for those guys. I mean, obviously Harrison, sort of his last real ride out was Force Awakens. I agree. I'd love to see him back in a flashback. Wouldn't surprise me one iota if he is. Hamill, Last Jedi was really his last rollout, and for it to big effect. And we know he's in Rise, but again, he's saying goodbye. So there's a lot of. It's not just the actors as well. It's almost some of the characters. Maybe the focus is going to change onto other things, but specifically in the case of Anthony, he's quite. I mean, he's on his book tour. As we speak, I'm seeing him tomorrow in a convention near me in Birmingham. So, and he's all go because he's talking about the book, and then he's got the press tour coming up, and he's all go. But I think once that all stops, even he'll sort of be sitting in his chalet in France, sort of thinking, wow, nothing on the horizon there. He's probably got more voice work as 3PO to do, but it is. It's quite a somber thought that these actors. Specifically him, really. I think he's probably sort of tapping out and saying goodbye. So yeah, I'm quite sad about it, really, when I think about it. It's a shame. But time moves on, doesn't it? So
it's nothing lasts forever, as Axl Rose said. But I was thinking about that shot in the trailer that gets me choked up with him saying one last look at all my friends, and then it pans to R2 and Chewbacca in clever editing for a trailer. But then you think well, that's not Kenny Baker in there, and that's not Peter Mayhew in there. So they're carrying on these characters, and he is the last of that guard. So it's weird that we've kind of already said goodbye to some of these actors, and now we are saying goodbye to the characters. At least for now. I think maybe some of the evergreen characters may come back again in the future. But like you say, it's a sobering thought. And the one thing I want to bring James and Lacey in here, but those two trailers, the first one, you had Mark Hamill saying, "We'll always be with you." And then now you have Anthony Daniels say, "One last look at my friends." I feel like that's their kind of way of saying goodbye to the fans, not so much an in-movie quote.
Yeah.
So yeah. James and Lacey, what are your initial thoughts about this? Has it hit you guys that it's kind of a goodbye to the? No, obviously we're ending the franchise, or the saga, I should say, not the franchise. But saying goodbye to these characters and closing the book on that.
Go ahead, James.
In a weird way, to me, I think that, Lucasfilm has done a really good job at making sure we remember that this trilogy is about the new characters. So coming into, hey, they're going to be doing more of these movies. They're bringing back, these actors, and these actors, is kind of like when you go to a concert and you watch the whole show and the show's over, and then you cheer, you get that encore. You get one more with them. You know what I mean? I never really thought of it like, oh, the band's getting ready to do their last songs and this is it. It's over. We're never getting them again. It's more like that was a great ride and it was done. And now we're getting one more, two more with some of these characters, just as like an extra bonus. So it's not, for some reason, as much as they try to make it like, 7, 8, and 9, and then this is it, for these people, I already kind of felt like 6 was it for these people. And this is all just cherries on top. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just all this extra. So I feel like when it all comes to an end, I'm not going to feel as sad as I am going to be like, that was awesome.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be supremely depressed because I've like these.
I'm going to be like, yeah!
I'm going to be so sad. So I grew up with the original trilogy. Even though I grew up in the 90s, I grew up with the original trilogy. That's what I watched first. So these are the characters that I connected with first. And these, when I asked, people ask me, what's your Star Wars? The original trilogy is my Star Wars. And the sequel trilogy is great. And when they announced they were making more movies, I was like, all right, more Star Wars. But in my head, I'm going, all right, more Luke, Leia, and Han. I didn't expect to get new characters the way that we got them, which I love, obviously. But, I grew up, Luke Skywalker was my childhood hero my whole life. And Leia, taught me how to be who I am. So to say goodbye to these things is like saying bye to parts of me. And as depressing as it sounds, it's the realization like Rey has of your heroes aren't around forever. And it's supremely depressing to me that this is coming to an end because I'm like, okay, but what now? Because this is what I've known for so long. Because when it ended with Return of the Jedi, they were in a happy place and that was the end of the story. And then when you come back and then you witness them dying, it's like, wait, they were in a good place years ago. And just, I'm going to be so depressed. I'm depressed right now. I started crying in the celebration panel. They played this thing that they didn't play for everyone, but I think they played it later, which was interview footage from years and years ago of them talking about what Star Wars means to them, mixed in with new characters and stuff like that. But I found myself crying in the panel being like, this is coming to an end. What am I going to do after this? Even though it's not the end, clearly. But it feels like part of it is ending for me because these are the characters that I love. Right. So it is depressing and sad, and I'm going to be a mess.
And one person that I feel like some people forget because he's not a good guy is Mcdiarmid.
Yeah.
Cast in his mid-30s to play an 88-year-old villain, and then it worked out perfectly timeline-wise to come back for the prequels. So that he's been in a huge chunk of these movies now, having entered at the very end of the first trilogy, and then he ran and was the centerpiece pretty much of the prequels, and now he's back. So Marc, do you have any are you a fan of Mcdiarmid? Are you a Palpatine guy? And what's your take on him? And we're hopefully, for the sake of the good guys, we're saying goodbye to Palpatine for the last time too. But we'll see. What do you think?
Oh, it's incredible, like you say, when you think about it, how young he was. I think he was born looking 30, wasn't he? Somebody said that recently, And he was on British TV back in the mid-70s, and he didn't really look that much different, to be fair. So, I just a thought occurs to me that I was thinking about Warwick as well when you were saying about Mcdiarmid, but of course Warwick's played that many different characters. He can do Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
Playing different. He doesn't need one character; he can play loads. So Warwick's fine; he'll carry on doing stuff. But
and he's still so young still.
He's about a year older than me, so he's still, he's still fine. And of course, he voiced Rook in Rebels, didn't he? So he's got other stuff he can do. But but Mcdiarmid, I mean, I don't suppose he expected to be back for 9. I would imagine they were pretty much finished filming 9, and they thought, oh yeah, let's bring him in. So he was probably quite a blessing for him, and to come back and be that character again and hear that voice. I mean, wow, we were all there at Celebration when you heard that voice in the trailer, which somebody annoyingly told me about 10 hours before, and I was like, I didn't want to know that.
Yeah.
Was it Lacey?
No, it wasn't me. So someone told me. And I kept it from James and John. I didn't tell them. I wanted John to be surprised.
So it was a heck of a surprise, wasn't it? A fantastic surprise.
Oh yeah, we were on the Star Wars stage floor, and Lacey had texted us and just said, like 3 minutes before the trailer's about to pop off, she says Ian McDiarmid's backstage, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He's going to say hi to everybody. Then all of a sudden you see it goes black and you hear the laugh, and I lost my mind. But you don't think about him often. And then, I guess the other thing I'm thinking about now, which I brought up earlier, is for the future of this thing, I fully expect, and this is just my take, that this isn't the last we're seeing of Rey and those characters. I feel like they're young enough. They're the new marketable chunk franchise figures. So then it makes me think that, we'll see Chewie and maybe R2 again, and the BB-8s and stuff like that, and then maybe even C-3PO, someone else in the suit, but like you said, Daniels could do a voice type of thing. So it may not be a full stop goodbye. So we need to compartmentalize that. What do you guys think about, I know James and Lacey, your thoughts on it. Mark, do you think we're going forward with these characters and maybe bringing along some of those evergreen characters to keep it connected in a way?
In time, I think it's a bit like the Potter franchise. I think they're waiting for the 3 leads from the Potter films to get to their late 30s, and then they'll bring them back as the parents or the teacher characters, and we'll see them again. So I think for now, certainly when you see interviews with Daisy, she's very much given the impression that, I'm done. I've given everything I've got and I'm done.
Right.
John, I think for Oscar, it's such a treat for him to, his character wasn't even supposed to make it through Force Awakens, was he? So it's such a bonus for him, and he's loving it as a fan and everything else. And John's just so full of beans and bouncy, and he goes full tilt at everything. And I think Daisy's ready to step into the next section of her career, the next part of her career. So I think, to a degree, all 3, for different reasons, want to put it not behind them, but just back a little bit so they can focus on other stuff. But I think, with Lucasfilm having the, Pablo said it years ago, didn't he? We're always 5 years ahead. We're always thinking 5 years ahead. And
or 10,
Marvel, Kevin Feige's always saying, we've got the next 10 years mapped out. So that's a Disney thing now, isn't it? So I think, whilst I don't think they're planning anything for them, even going forward 5 or 10 years, who knows? But I don't think they are, personally. I think they will. But my gut tells me that we're probably going to go back, with TV. Obviously, Mando, Kenobi, and Cassian are all going back.
Right.
If the rumours turn out to be true that what Benioff and Weiss were doing was an Old Republic series of films, then that's going way back. So further back than Phantom. We've never gone back further than Phantom. So there's all these things. So I think in time we'll go forward, but it'll feel like when we got episode 7, and it was like James just said, we get episode 7, it's like, wow, it's all gravy now, isn't it? But we weren't expecting this. I spent most of my adult life thinking they'll never do 7, 8, and 9.
True.
I was 13 when Jedi came, 12 when Jedi came out, and it was like, that's it. I'm never going to see these guys again outside of my Marvel comics, my Star Wars weeklies and stuff. And yet here we are. So never say never, but I think that's the way they'll play it. Personally, I think that's how they'll go.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. James, do you think you were the one who was? I think Lacey, you think they're coming back. So James, do you think they're going to do another, say, trilogy, or hit reset button and bring these characters back in 5-10 years? Have you changed on this at all?
The biggest thing for me that makes it, I don't know, seem possible is the whole argument of them saying this isn't the end of this story. They're saying it's the end of the Skywalker saga. And it's I don't know why they keep phrasing it like that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, that it's a tell in my mind that you have plans with these characters. And when I say that too, I believe there has been interviews with Kathy Kennedy talking about, we have plans with Rey or she said, I think these characters for long, many years or something, something along those lines. I remember something going there and I'm like, man, I just really think they're going to do that 10, 11, 12. It seems so crazy to not do it, but to keep on this whole thing is like that 10, 11, and 12, if they go down that route, it's definitely going to be this is the handoff. You know what I mean?
Right.
4, 5, and 6 was these people. 7, 8, 9 was those people giving it to the new people. 10, 11, and 12 are just the new people. You know what I mean? And that, again, that's not to say that Warwick and other characters like that we were talking about might not still be around to do those fun little cameos. But I don't know. I think 10 and 11 and 12 is probably inevitable. But it's just who wants to make the call on when that's going to happen. Right. Is it going to be, what are they taking a break right now? 2019, 20.
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
So 3 years. So we're looking 2029, episode 10. Yeah. Is that the 3-year break?
I mean, the 2 of the 3 of the characters will be in their 30s. Lacey, I know you think they're coming back, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you and I talked about this, I forget when, but it seems like they are almost hitting reset with any plans they had with these theatrical films, obviously the Benioff and Weiss thing and whatever.
Right.
So to me, it seems like because of that, they always have that in their back pocket as, what is Star Wars in the movies? And maybe they don't know that yet. I don't know. What do you think?
All right. You're asking me.
Yeah.
Because you just said you, so I don't know if you meant me.
You.
You. I would say that they're probably going to do those movies, but they have a specific time frame that they're going to do them in. And I don't think they're going to up that based on whatever's going on with Benioff and Weiss and whoever and Rian Johnson. I don't think that's going to change. I guarantee there's a timeline in Lucasfilm somewhere up on a board, and it says we can start these movies here because they want to give it time to breathe.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the marketing is kind of like a lie because they're like, this is it. This is the final one. And then they're like, just kidding. We're coming back again. And it just seems like a money grab. So I'm sure they're just going to let it sit for a little bit and then do some other trilogy and then come back to it. So hopefully we'll get an idea of what that trilogy is. But
sure.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they could hide it, like Mark, if they could hide it from us and throw us some kind of teaser one day down the line and just nobody know about it. And you just see an X on the screen or something,
That'd be nice. No, I agree. I think now, I mean, like James said, I think phrasing it as the Skywalkers, because that's never been a phrase till recently, or saying the Skywalkers.
It hasn't,
so that's very new. So, but I get the logic of sort of saying, well, this is the 9, this is George's 3 trilogies, because even though they deviated from his notes quite famously, it's still the 3 films, 7, 8, and 9. So I think they're bunching those together and saying, well, that's that. To this conversation, you are sort of saying goodbye to a lot of those legacy characters,
right?
If and the droids will still be around to some degree, and I think I mean, obviously it's bittersweet because Carrie's not with us. Harrison was only ever really going to do 7. Although he quite clearly enjoyed it so much, I think he would have happily done more. I don't quite buy this whole he always wanted to die and he never wanted to come back, and I don't buy that. I've never bought that. But the in terms of carrying on with these characters, I think I think they don't quite know how to play the movie angle of it, because 7 was a guaranteed. Everyone was going to see 7. Everyone was going to see Force Awakens, and look at the money it made. And then Rogue One, I don't know what their expectations were, but it couldn't have been. It wasn't approaching what they expected for Force Awakens, but it made $1 billion back when there weren't that many films that made $1 billion, even sort of 3 years ago. Now it's you get 2 or 3 a year, don't you? This year it's like 4 or 5, so it's not. It's like the old hit. If a film makes 100 million, it's a big hit. Now it's nothing,
right, exactly.
So as that benchmark has changed, and then obviously Last Jedi did good at the box office, and then Solo came out way too close to Last Jedi, which hurt Solo, and so you can see all the missteps. So I think I think Iger said it, maybe we've rushed this a little bit too much. And I'm there, and I think Iger's great. I like Bob. But I'm there pulling my hair out going, oh, God, the whole thing about Star Wars was that it's always been a cultural event. It was always... It was an event. A Star Wars film was like, stop the traffic. Everything stops for Star Wars. You start seeing stuff on the telly, the adverts, the merchandise, the whole kit and caboodle is like, it's a big deal. Or, Pepsi are doing a merchandising deal with Lucasfilm. It's all these kind of things. It means something. And now there's probably less companies not doing a merchandising deal with Lucasfilm than are, You know what I mean? So it's not the event that it should be, that it deserves to be, because Star Wars... it's our team, isn't it? So we're always going to put Star Wars above everything else is here, and that's Star Wars. So they need to grab that back a little bit. So I think they will do more. I love the idea of 10, 11, and 12 because at certain points in time, Lucas did say 4 trilogies, 12 films. So even that kind of sits within it. But I think the whole and we don't know the destiny of it's Rey and Kylo is what we're talking about really, and we know Kylo's got the Skywalker heritage in him through his mother, and there's all that you can you can kind of fiddle away around that. But I think it's going to happen. But I'm hoping that I think it's going to be a little bit way down the line before we get there. But it'll come. It'll definitely come.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask Lacey a question?
Sure.
So I'm listening to what Marc is saying, and about how the Skywalker saga used to be like a big, or not the Skywalker saga, the Star Wars movies when they came out, they stopped traffic. It was the big event. Do you think that some of these other movies have kind of caused the big event movie to just be like, I don't know, Star Wars is just one of the big event movies, like the Harry Potter movies, the Lord of the Rings, even Hunger Games to a degree, and then like a lot of the Avengers movies as well. Like, have they has a big franchise being the big event every, let's say, 5 years, kind of squashed the chances of Star Wars being like, hey, yeah, but we're bigger than all those, and it's like, yeah, you're the same as all those. That's like the regular casual movie going audience.
Yeah, I think, years ago when the prequels came out, Star Wars was Star Wars. It was like, oh my goodness, it was everywhere. It was at Taco Bell. It was like all over the place.
Yeah.
But since then, like you said, you had Harry Potter, which was gigantic. You had Twilight, whether people want to agree with it or not, it was gigantic and made buckets of money. And then you had things like Hunger Games. Like, I loved the Hunger Games. And that to me was an event to go see the last Hunger Games movie and to watch all the interviews with the Hunger Games cast. And like, I was totally in that. So I could see that those things then set off like, oh, but is it the big thing right now? Because I honestly think the big thing is Marvel. Like Avengers Endgame and the whole Infinity War thing, to me, people cared about that more than Star Wars, I feel. And I think sometimes we're like, oh, well, Star Wars obviously is more important, but we're in Star Wars. Yeah. Whereas when I'm talking to my coworkers and I'm talking to my parents or whoever, the thing they want to see is the next Marvel movie. It's not necessarily Star Wars. It's like, do I really? I heard people didn't like that. Do I really want to go see it? Mm-hmm. Or Deadpool. I'm one of the people too. Like, I love Deadpool. So like, I'll go see it a bunch of times. Yeah, I think that has impacted it because there's just been so many franchises that have just taken the attention away from it. But at the same time, you've seen things fail. So like Percy Jackson failed. Yeah. The other Harry Potter thing, what is it, like Newt, whatever his name is?
Fantastic Beasts, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Didn't like that, didn't watch it, have no interest. I was like,
Pacific
it's not Harry
Rim, I think they were trying to make that a thing.
Pacific Rim, yeah.
Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though. There's so many franchises that haven't caught on, though, isn't there? Like you say, but you go back to 99. That's like year zero, isn't it? You've got episode 1 comes out, and then all of a sudden Potter's out a couple of years later, and Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the X-Men films had just got going, and all of a sudden it's like franchise crazy, and those big films. So Star Wars. I mean, in the 70s and 80s. I'm thinking specifically from a visual point of view, ILM was so far ahead of the curve. Like they said we're like 5 years ahead of everybody else. now look at what we've just seen in The Mandalorian on television. They can do it. Everyone's got great visuals. So you've lost the element of surprise in that respect. But now Star Wars it's not just, it'll never be just another franchise. It's always going to make the radio, make the papers because it's Star Wars. It gives it that little edge, and it's held to a higher level because it's Star Wars. So if it's not exactly what people want, I've seen sniffy reviews of The Mandalorian already from national newspapers in the UK, and I'm like, have you even seen it? Probably not.
How did you see it?
That's what I said. How did they see it?
Sky is not letting that licensing go. How did you see it?
No, but you know what I mean. It's like Star Wars. Star Wars should be. If it means we get less Star Wars to make Star Wars feel like have more of an impact, and that benefits Star Wars in the long run. Given that we've now got Disney Plus, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I agree. I mean, it's funny you say that because the premiere of Mandalorian took place last Wednesday, and there were a couple of writers, I forget their names, but for trades, and they said this reminds me why Star Wars should be watched on a big screen. And they were watching a streaming show, but they were watching a streaming show with top of the line special effects on a big screen. And they got to watch the first 3 episodes, so it felt like a movie. So hearing them come out of that saying that kind of reminds you that Star Wars is always going to have that place, and it's never going to complete. Like, people think they're shifting to just streaming for whatever reason, but I think Star Wars' event place is always going to be on the big screen. But the difference I see between Star Wars and like a Marvel thing, and this is just maybe because I'm biased, of course, because I'm in this space and I like Marvel, but I'm not a massive Marvel MCU fan. I feel like Star Wars movies are modern mythology and will have more legs and last longer generationally. Whereas like my grandson's not going to be like, I got to watch Avengers Endgame. Like, I don't know that that's going to have the legs that, The Force Awakens or Empire Strikes Back has for the last 35 years.
Yeah,
it's hot now.
Like Episode 2 is probably arguably the worst Star Wars, but it is just as important to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not like Iron Man 2, which is arguably the worst. People be like, yeah, skip that. Whatever. I never need to watch that.
I don't need that Mickey Rourke whipping around chains at me. I don't need to see that. It
doesn't, as good or as much as we know is important to the canon, this is when it happened, and it's one of the 23 films or whatever. They start to lose a little bit of luster, you know what I mean? And when it comes to saga films, it's like, no matter if people don't like, say, The Last Jedi, it's still The Last Jedi. That's episode 8. Like it or not, it's important to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I guess to wrap up this part of the discussion before we move on to questions from listeners, if they are going to do some sort of like final bow in the movie for legacy characters like Luke and whoever, I want to just see if you guys have any idea of what you think they might do, and we'll each go around, give our maybe brief thoughts on that, and then we can close it out. So Lacey, how do you think? Like, what's our last time seeing Luke Skywalker going to be, and that sort of thing? Like, what's their wink goodbye to fans in movie, in your opinion, as a guess?
I think it's a pretty easy one. Everyone knows he's going to be a Force ghost. Like, he's even said it. So I don't think that's like any like, oh, what is going to happen? He's going to be a Force ghost. Mm-hmm. I think the big question is how they're going to handle Leia. Because as we know from rumblings and Todd Fisher is that they used 8 minutes of footage. So who knows what role she's going to play. But I think most of the people are probably going to be Force ghosts, with the exception of like Han Solo, who might be like a flashback or a memory or whatever. Because otherwise, if you bring Han Solo in, then it's turning into Harry Potter, where Harry's holding out the wand and he sees everybody that's died. I don't know if anybody knows that scene where he's like going up against Voldemort. Yeah. And that was like a little much for me. Even as a Harry Potter fan, I was like, all right, calm down. But yeah, I think it's going to be probably Force ghosts. But I hope that the end of the movie is a Return of the Jedi, like happy yub-nub group, smiling,
Kumbaya.
panning, pushing picture stuff.
Yeah.
Like everybody smiling. Because I want to leave this movie happy because The Last Jedi, I did not leave happy. So
Right.
I would like to leave in a good mood.
James, obviously Luke, we're thinking Force Ghosts and stuff. What about other characters?
I want to talk Emperor.
All right.
So I think two possibilities. I got a big one and a little one. The big one is I think they'll probably go that route because of the spectacle of it. You got to kill this guy off in a big way, not throwing him down a shaft and thinking like, oh, he's too small now, I can't see if he hit or not. I think it's got to be some sort of like he somehow is causing like the force lightning is like hitting him, like he's like exploding from the inside with force lightning and some sort of like grand explosion.
Death by force lightning. We're going full circle.
Yeah,
here,
death
right?
by force lightning. I think it's got to be something where we like see him like explode via like the force or something. But my more hopeful answer is, and I don't care who it is, Rey or Kylo, either one of them, Emperor on his knees, two lightsabers. Same way that Dooku goes. I think that would be amazing because to me, I think when you look back at like what death is, I think there's no more like dishonorable, like you've earned this than the cut off of the head thing. You know, like bring me his head. I've talked about that before. And so I think there's something to like Kylo Ren being like, I defeated the Emperor and I, got his head kind of a thing. Like it's more symbolic than just like I stabbed him or I threw him off a cliff or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Rey will say, do it. And Kylo Ren will do it.
There you go.
No, but I think that's part of the payoff as well is the like he's the guy who says, do it, his fate will be the same as ours. And it's like kind of,
I like that. All right. Mark, how are we saying goodbye to these folks here?
Oh wow. I don't know. I mean, part of me wants the happy ending, like Yub Nub, like the end of Jedi. But that was not subverted because it was a happy ending in the moment, and then we learned the war never finished, and they had no peace, and all the things that happened to the characters.
Everything is over.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was fine. Dramatically, I get why. It makes all the sense because you've got to start from a point of conflict to have a conflict, haven't you? So that's all good. I don't mind that. I just want to feel like there's a resolution. So chopping off Palpatine's head or however he gets defeated, we need to see that. That needs to be an absolute put a bow on that. He's gone for good. Sure. Definitely gone for good. I still don't know whether Rey and Kylo are both going to get out of this alive. I think probably, in all honesty, they're too good characters not to. But, Jedi, you think Jedi is like the great big finale. Nobody dies really in Jedi apart from Vader. Well, Vader and the Emperor. Were they even dead then? You look back at it now and go, well, did they even die really? An Ewok and a Gamorrean guard died, we said in the Jedi, and Yoda, and that was it. Even Yoda kind of came back.
I was going to say Yoda too, but also still...
Right. Yoda's burning trees,
Darth Maul gets chopped in half, he comes back. I'm still waiting for Dooku's head with little legs like the Thing to turn up in the scene.
Like Mars Attacks?
Yeah, nobody ever died. Nobody's ever really gone, said a wise man once. How true that is. So I want to see some resolution. Yes, I'd love to see a happy ending. I don't know whether that's what the last Rise of Skywalker is going to give us. It's a tough one. I don't know. Resolution. That's the word I'll use. Okay. I want to know that this particular storyline is done, and if we end the shot with like a special edition shot looking around the galaxy at different places, and you kind of just know that life's getting back kind of to normal because they've had this horrible sort of 30 years plus of, and we're going to see it more in the Mandalorian of just this fractured galaxy. That's just completely fallen apart, and it's all since the Republic just couldn't see beyond the end of the noses and just let go of the reins, and it's all gone wrong since then. So it's their fault really, allowing the Sith and Palpatine to step in and sort of grow from within, as the old novel said. Sure. But yeah, I'd like to see just a sense of resolution. And if 3PO and R2 go off on their travels again, I'm fine with that. If Chewie goes back to Kashyyyk to his family, I'm fine with that. Luke and all the other Jedi just dissipate into the Force. that's good too. I had a theory that the Force just gets switched off at the end of this film. I don't think it will, because I think they need it as a story device.
Right.
But if that happened, if the Force finds balance, maybe that's they kind of say the Force is the living thing, so maybe the Force goes, well, we've found the balance now, so we can just disappear for a bit, and then 30 years later, something evil happens and the Force returns, and I don't know, I'm spitballing, but just something big and definitive to sort of put a bow on it.
Nice. Yeah. And then when they try to bring it back, they're like, man, Force Awakens would have been a great title for this movie. But
I was thinking, I think he just described episode 6 and then episode 7.
Well, as they say, it's poetry, it rhymes, right? I agree with all that. I would like it, as long as it's a situation where we're not debating over what we just saw, like we did with The Last Jedi, as long as everyone walks out of the movie like, yep, like that. I don't care what happens, as long as everyone understands and we're all on the same page. And like you say, we close the book there. So I agree. But let us know what you guys think. Saying goodbye to the legacy actors, characters, but will we see them again in the future? Give your thoughts in the comments. Let us know. And also hit us up on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And you guys did that to give us our questions. So now we're going to move over to Ask the Resistance. You guys shot us over some questions, and we're going to tackle them.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
Lacey, we're going to start off with you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. This question is from Chris J at Usual Gubbins. And Chris said, we always laugh at their handles that are so funny.
Because they're funny.
Yeah, Chris said, do you think Obi-Wan will be in The Rise of Skywalker via Ewan McGregor? He is sporting a very Obi-Wan looking bit of facial hair in all of his recent interviews lately. So I would imagine he would have had to have filmed that a while ago, though. But Lacey, what's your take? I know you're a big fan of the Kenobi, so I felt this question would be good for you.
The Kenobi.
I am a fan of the Kenobi, the GOAT Kenobi. I think he is in The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if that means the beard that he's sporting right now is for that. But yeah, I think he is in The Rise of Skywalker somewhere. Wow. They had him in The Force Awakens. He talked in the movie. So why wouldn't they bring him in? It's a perfect way to then get people excited for the series that's coming up, to have him on screen, even if for a couple seconds. So yes, and I can't wait to see him in it. Thank you, Chris, for your question.
All right. Very good. All right, Mark, this one's going to you. This is from Seth Kime, and Seth asked, this is actually for you personally. This is a Patreon submitted question. Ooh. And he said, what is Marc's Star Wars origin story? What event or situation originally got you into Star Wars?
It would be hearing rumors, because obviously we got the film sort of 6 or 7 months after you guys did, so we didn't get it till December. But most of the summer of '77 on television was talk of this film in America that's breaking all the records, and now it's bigger than Jaws, and it's the biggest film ever, and and all the crazy things that happened over the summer in the States. We were hearing about it in the UK quite a bit later, but so I was only 6, don't forget, but I knew this film was coming. All the kids on the playground were talking about this film that none of us had ever seen, and the most amazing thing. And then I think it would have been into 78, so sort of Easter 78 I saw the film, and the Star Wars Weekly had just started. And I honestly can't remember the chronology. I can't remember whether I saw the film first and then read the comic, or vice versa. My head tells me I think I read the comic first. So it would be issue 6 of Star Wars Weekly. My mom's best friend picked me up a copy and said, oh, you like this Star Wars thing? Here's a comic.
Oh, wow.
I still blame her for it today. So that was the start point for me. It was a UK Star Wars Weekly, because we you guys had the monthlies, but we had the weeklies. They broke them down into smaller chunks, and our magazines were much bigger. And lots of backup strips and pictures and such. I was thinking earlier when we were talking how much mileage Lucasfilm got out of each of those original trilogy films. As fans, we would spend 3 years just talking about Empire, and Marvel would just do comics based on Empire, and there was no books. It was just Palatoy figures, Marvel comics, read along, the read along cassette and books and stuff like that. The films weren't out on video. Well, Star Wars was out on video in '82, so back end of that Empire to Jedi era. We got by on so little. But yeah, it would be issue 6 of Star Wars Weekly.
We that's a great answer. We're certainly so spoiled now when you really think about it. Oh. And we're still so starved for some reason.
Yeah, I'm literally drowning. There's stuff coming out that we don't even... There's a Resistance episode, there's a Mando episode, there's a film out in 30-odd days, and there's comics coming every Wednesday, and there's Resistance Reborn has just come out. I haven't even had a chance to crack
Fallen Order.
Yeah, the game
is like
yeah, exactly. That's right.
30 hours.
Clone Wars
plus.
will be out mid-February.
Yeah.
So, no, you're absolutely right. That's such a great... And such good perspective on your answer there, too. From where it was, being that it was in the States first and you guys waited a year. The level of patience that even a kid had in 1978 compared to now, I mean, it's so amazing what has changed over time. But Seth, hope you like that answer from Mark. But now we're going to go to James with Semper Fi Danny at Semper Fi Danny. Way to get your handle. They asked, if you could make one change to The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, what would it be? And I added, you can't say nothing, because I had a feeling that you might say nothing. But
no, I wouldn't say nothing.
All right. So one change to either of those movies. What do you think?
So here's one of those things where, like, as much as we like the movies and we think that they came out exactly perfect, I think that there are other options that wouldn't necessarily make them better, wouldn't necessarily make them worse. They're just adjacent, like other, fifth dimensional type parallel paths. And I think that in another world, it would have been really cool to see not Luke fight Kylo Ren at the end of Last Jedi, but do something more that still tells the same story, but give him less of a couple dodges, I think doing something more like bringing down a mountain. So it's like, he's not killing anybody, but he's like moving the mountains, it's like a biblical thing. I think there's some things that they could have done that would have been a little bit more of a spectacle and would have probably or possibly made people feel a little bit more like he was really, really powerful, and not just like knows one trick or something. So I think something in that fight could have been tweaked a little bit that would have made us, would have made more people be like, yeah, Luke.
All right. That's fair. Okay. Next one. This is for all of us. We're going to do whip around real quick here from Todd Speed Rebels at Todd Hertz. I love when people do play on words with their own names. So good job, Todd. Todd said, if you had to raise, excuse me, if you had to raise the non-human baby of any Star Wars species, which would you choose? Mark, you're raising a Star Wars species baby. Which one are you picking?
Well, from reading the Galaxy's Edge comic, I would say raising a baby Sarlacc's making me quite a bit of money. So I'm thinking maybe a baby Sarlacc. I'd find a nice big open desert somewhere, and I would drop it in.
Dangerous.
And I'd come back about 20 years later. I'd build a sail barge casino next to it. I reckon I can make quite a bit of money out of that. So it will be a baby Sarlacc. Yeah, I would have like gloves on. Or maybe even give the gloves to somebody else and let them do it.
You're right.
Yeah, and then just because they're dropping from orbit down there, so just drop the baby Sarlacc from a great height, and then just rake it in, baby. That's how I'll do it.
You'd have Brian Cameron do it, right? You would just give him the gloves and have him handle it for you, right?
Oh, Brian wouldn't need gloves. He'd just dive in head first with it. That thing's not going to eat Brian. It wouldn't dare eat Brian. So no, that's a good observation, actually. Yes, it definitely would do that. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Brian.
Lacey.
So my gut reaction was spoiler from Mandalorian, but then I realized that would not work because I can't tell you. So I picked pork.
I hear it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'd pick a porg. Because they're adorable and it could like chill on my shoulder like a parrot, or it'd be like really cute. Like I kind of think about it like a cat. Like it would give you attitude, but like chill when it wanted to chill.
Right. Well, that's pretty good.
Catitude.
Yeah. All right.
Exactly. Catitude. But with a bird.
You already have a bunch of porgs there, and who knows, maybe like Toy Story at night they come to life and they all hang out.
What is with you in Toy Story lately? Are you going to make a Forky reference again?
I just watched the first Toy Story yesterday with my son. That's why.
Got it.
Which the effects were so good, but they didn't hold Toy
they're
Story.
terrible.
Toy Story 4 now looks like it's an actual live action. It's insane.
Yeah.
But
The first one looks like trash.
it's a little McClunky.
Sorry, Disney. It was a little too early for its time.
Yeah. James, what are we raising over there in the Baney household in a galaxy far, far away?
You guys have given good answers because I thought you would steal mine. Going last, I was like, man, I'm gonna get mine stolen. But I just Twi'lek. I would just have a Twi'lek baby. I think that's probably in most cases the closest to human. You know, as far as still being able to raise someone that I don't know can talk to you in a normal, basic speaking voice. I say basic like English, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like regular talking, and for most things, it's inherently the same. I think they're probably the closest to human, just like one change, you know, one little thing.
Right.
So I would go with Twi'lek.
All right. I'm going Wookiee.
I thought you might.
Yeah. Eventually, I'll have myself a pilot to take me around. Maybe they score a basketball or football scholarship, so I don't have to pay for college.
I was gonna say I think you're stereotyping Wookiees, and then I'm like, nope. He now thinks they're basketball stars.
And then you have your loyal best friend who's almost kind of like a dog too. So there you go, 2 for 1. So yeah, I'll have to go with the Wookiee there. All right, so next, I'm gonna tackle this one. It's from Blog of the Hutt. And they asked, in The Empire Strikes Back, Ghost Obi-Wan says to Luke, if you face Vader, you must do it alone. I cannot interfere. What do you think he meant? Are there rules for Force Ghosts? Do you think they're only allowed to harm trees? To harm or sit on trees? That's a go. I mean, the obvious answer is for the dramatic aspect of the duel, you need father and son. And it'd be weird if Obi-Wan popped in and was like, ha, gotcha. Like, yeah. So that's the obvious movie making storytelling reason. But I don't know if there are rules about Force Ghosts or if there's a code to being a Force Ghost or anything like that. I'm sure if there isn't, they'll come up with one to justify that. But I just think it would have been unfair and a bit weird if all of a sudden Obi-Wan popped in there and started helping Luke out. And it also minimizes Luke's journey and his ability to face his fears and stuff. You got to take the training wheels off. And I think that was a big part of his growth there. So I think maybe that's Obi-Wan's reason, is you have to do this because if you're going to become a Jedi, like Yoda says, you have to confront and face Vader yourself. So I think
Vader called his bluff.
Yeah.
He's like, strike me down and I'll be more powerful than it. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, I can't fight him.
right. Yeah.
There are rules.
Yeah.
There probably are rules, actually. I've always wondered who can see Force Ghosts. Luke can see Obi-Wan and Yoda at the end, and Anakin at the end of Jedi.
Anakin.
Leia's never seen Anakin, so she wouldn't know what he looked. You know what I mean? So I always wonder whether how you present yourself as a Force Ghost to the person that's looking at you.
That's fair.
I don't know. So, I always see when Luke's looking at the three of them, and then he goes back to the part when Leia sort of steers him away. To me, it's not, but she didn't see them because she's got no connect. She's never met Yoda, and she's got no connection to any of them, particularly in that instance. As Luke has on that particular little part of the journey, her connection to the Force obviously comes later. Her strong connection to the Force comes later. So that's why I think at the end of 9, it'd be great if there was some sort of Council of Jedi to some degree when you realise they are all together, and then Han's just smirking in a flashback, you know. So.
Yeah, right. He's like, I can't be a Force Ghost, but I'm over here in the past.
Mumbo jumbo. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yes, mumbo jumbo indeed. Such a good reference. But we actually talked about, we wonder if the possibility if they want to end Leia with Carrie to respect her, does she become a Force Ghost at the end of the movie? So who knows? And they could easily do that with special effects too. But all right, Mark, last question. You ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, this is from Mark. Not you. You didn't ask yourself a question.
I do that.
Mark at Dekine Awakens, another patron question. Thank you, Mark, for that. He asked you, what do you think the next Star Wars theatrical film will be? So if we're looking at 2022, do you have any guesses what you think it could be?
Oh, wow. That is literally the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I'd like to say Solo 2 to play to the crowd. But my head's telling me that's probably now going to end up being something on Disney Plus, which is equally awesome because I think there's legs in that story for definite. I don't know. Back in 2005, Celebration 3 sort of time, Lucas was talking about, I wouldn't be averse to doing an Old Republic film, and he kind of put it out there. Very like a one-line thing at the convention, and then again all the rumors are going that that's the way they're going, and going back in the days when Dark Horse were doing their earliest comics after Dark Empire, and it was Tales of the Jedi and that sort of era, building up the history of Star Wars. I don't know whether I'd want to go back quite that far. They're going back 20,000 years into the past. I think that's too far back, but at least you've still got the staples of lightsabers, hyperspace travel, blasters. Most of the tech is there. It's only ever been finessed, which makes it a bit like discovering magic, isn't it? It's that kind of comparison. But I would like to go back to when the Republic was at its peak, probably just before Yoda's time. It kind of feels to me like he was at the helm of it and he was part of the problem in a way, that he took his eye off the ball, which is why there's all that terrible regret that he's got. So I'd like to see the Jedi, or rather the Republic in its prime, and what the challenges were. And I think there's enough of a timeline out there, which I know is considered Legends now, but I think, they've kept all the planets from those Legend stories, so let's keep a bit of the history. There are stories that you could go back and tell, and I'd like to see something like that. So, I think maybe stepping back a little bit, maybe not as far back as Old Republic or Tales of the Jedi, or that's that far, but just go back into Star Wars history a bit and just see some of the building blocks to what we learn about later. A bit like Game of Thrones is doing there. They're stepping back a little way and giving you a bit of the history behind the houses and such, and I think that could be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, but I think that's something fans have been asking for, kind of like the Kenobi thing, and that's happening. So now maybe Old Republic is the way to go, and that timeline you hone on, I think you give good reasons as to why, because you have that connectivity on things we've known, and it wouldn't be that big of a stretch. Good call. So thank you for that. So that's it. That's it for the questions. If you guys want to submit questions and be on the show and have them answered, either become a patron at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast, or of course, send them to us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. Or if you're shy, you can email them at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. Speaking of social plugs, Marc, first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome.
No, I've really enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to this for ages, so thank you for inviting me.
Well, let me speak for all of us and say that you now have a key to the Resistance base. You are welcome back anytime. This has been absolutely great.
Good.
If people want to reach you on social media or otherwise, I know fantatrax.com, of course. Where can they reach you personally on social media?
Twitter's where I tend to do most of my, I was going to say tweeting, where else am I going to do tweeting apart from sitting in a tree? So it would be at prefect_timing on Twitter, because I'm a bit of a Hitchhiker's fan, so it's a Hitchhiker's reference. So prefect_timing, so that's where I just generally babble and like and retweet and, try and be clever but fail most of the time. But that's the place to find me at that. Can I just say, before we go, it's been so nice to see James looking relaxed and calm, because the last time I saw you at Celebration in Chicago, good God, I've never seen anyone freak out so much. I was going, the paddles they give to people when they're about to have a cardiac. I was looking for the paddles, really was. So it's so nice to see you look like dry, like not like this. Just don't laugh, John. It was a real pleasure to see you looking human as opposed to freak out. It's a pleasure.
That whole presentation was tunnel vision for me. I'm sitting here like, so that just happened. Like, I'm sitting on stage thinking like, all right, so we're on stage, calm down, just do the show, don't think about the wires. The
wires. It came out great though, I've got to say, considering that there was nearly an ambulance called, or as you guys would say, a paramedic. It was a moment. You pulled that one out of the bag. I don't know if you believed me at the time, but you really did. I hope I get to do all that celebration stuff again because I really enjoyed doing that. It was great fun. So, but yes.
No, and yeah, you were great and gracious and patient and all that stuff, dealing with the issues with the tech stuff that were beyond your control and all that stuff. So thank you for all that. All right, well, James, now that you're calm and relaxed, where can people find you on the social medias?
Taking a breath. You gotta do the Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks.
All right, you gotta do the Jedi meditating on the edge of the rock.
Yeah.
Lacey.
People could find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
All right, you guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. Make sure you go to Star Wars Newsnet for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. And also Fantha Tracks, of course. And make sure you guys subscribe to the Resistance broadcast on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, all those whatever apps you get your podcasts on. And of course, we have our new show, the
Podbean.
Right, the Mando Fan Show. We're gonna have another episode coming up. We're doing tomorrow. Each time there is a Mandalorian episode, we're gonna be doing one with the Mando Fan Show, also found on the podcast feeds and on YouTube. So check those out. And as I said before, patreon.com/resistance broadcast. If you want to support us, we have 5 tiers. Check it out. Other than that, I do need to thank our generals of our Patreon page. So that is Carmelo, who we saw earlier with his son. Good job. Brian Cholito, Andrew Staley, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, J.G. Kars, Seth Keim, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you so much for all of your support. And thank all of you for watching, listening, being a part of the Resistance. We hope you enjoy your weekends. We hope you enjoy Mando. We hope you enjoy everything. And we'll be back, as always, with you on Monday morning with another episode of the Resistance broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.